Tell them who we are, Bob.
All right. I'm the one that ain't got any hair.
I'm the one that's got plenty.
No, this is Delilah. She's got plenty of hair. So I think Delilah and Ronnie are maybe first cousins. Welcome to welcome to the Wild Bob and Ronnie.
You're gonna get me bit.
Internet
Sensation.
right on UG TV, coming to you from La Follette, Tennessee, US of A. Wherever you are, you can pick us up, and we're gonna try to tweet Vladimir Putin plumb out of office.
If I'm gonna be a star, I'm gonna have to be incognito.
There you go. There you go. So, did you know that old, what is the old guy's name? Said he was moving to L.A. to get away from the paparazzi.
You talk? No, I don't know who you're talking about.
I forget who that guy is.
Alex Baldwin.
Alex Baldwin, that's who it is. He's gonna move.
Well, that's where they got all them paparazzi.
That's what I was thinking. I thought he had things kind of had to rename him Wrong Way Corrigan. You know who Wrong Way Corrigan was?
Yeah, he ended up in Ireland, didn't he?
He flying to California and ended up in Ireland.
He was going to France.
Yeah.
Like Lindbergh ended up in Ireland.
He couldn't get permission to go, but he went anyhow.
And got lost.
Yeah.
That's the kind of airplane flying I'd do.
Well, I think maybe he was at the controls of the 370 that got missing. You know, I ain't heard nothing about that lately, have you?
They're looking into a terrorist plot now, I think. Well, you know, as they say, what difference does it make anyway?
Right.
It just, what
When
was
the
it, 200
airplane's gone,
something
I
people?
mean, the airplane's gone, what difference does it make?
200 and something people dead, what difference does it make anyway?
That's right. The airplane's already gone, you know. So, I don't know. I just believe they might, when they come up with this select committee to investigate Benghazi, that they may come up with more than what they think they will.
Well, if they do it, and I hated Richard Nixon. And I think that he ought to have been hung instead of run out of office. I think they ought to take him out and hung him. But I don't think he done anything that Obama's not done.
No, I don't either.
I think they ought to.
I think Obama has done worse things.
Well, I agree.
And like I say, Benghazi is just the tip of the ice storm. How do you like to have somebody become president who didn't even have sense enough to fortify our missions, our embassies that was under her control in the face of 9/11 coming up?
Well, she is an evil person. But now I'm going to tell you, she would actually be a better president than Obama. And that's kind of like figuring out which rotten apple you want to eat first.
Right, yeah. That's true.
I think we've lost out's what we've done. But I ain't trying to save, I gave up saving the country. What could I do anyway? And I thought maybe there was some hope for the county and the city, but there ain't no hope there either. The scumbags and the crooks have took over, and the people are just falling right in line. Whatever they hear on the news, on the television, is what they believe unless they listen to us.
Just like down at Jones Town.
I had a guy talking today about, a good old boy, I like him. But he was talking about the weather being so messed up, they shot holes in it with them things that been sending up there. Just look, he said, Alaska's melting and everything. They've just messed everything up. Well, now he believes all that stuff. The president, somebody showed him a couple of pictures yesterday of some drought areas, and he's all on the bandwagon to stop global warming, just like they hadn't had this planned.
Right.
He just happened to think of it. I got to go out there and with my executive action, I'm going to shut down the coal industry, do away with fracking, do away with our possible energy independence, and we're all going to sit right here and pedal bicycles and live in them little boxes, them government-approved boxes. Right. We'll get our welfare and be just tickled to death.
Yeah, I think that's very true. You know, people, we went up and listened to Ben Carson. Let's see, his speech was on ethical leadership. No, that was, what's his name? What was his speech on?
I don't remember the title of it. I know what he talked about. He had a title, but I don't remember a theme.
Right, it was, that's not the word, but it's sensible leadership was what he was referring to. And, it's hard to lead a bunch of crazy people sensibly. Because everything you do that's sensible to a crazy person is crazy. And when you've got to have entire states to approve of their people staying high all the time on marijuana, staying doped up, people here in La Follette, I don't know how many of them are on prescription drugs, and the ones that aren't on prescription drugs are on illegal drugs. And it's hard to lead a bunch of people like that in a sensible manner. And I really don't know what the answer is to, unless you had and I hate to say this, a sensible, hard-nosed dictator.
Maybe I can find out what the title it was. Said maybe I'll find out what the title it was. Logical leadership.
Logical, that's sensible and logical. That's somewhat I like sensible a little bit better than logical, because when you deal strictly in logic, sometimes it overlooks the human factor, and it doesn't come out quite right. But sensible leadership, it's very hard to find someone that would do that and stick to it. And that's what it takes. You got to stick to it. And I was found out the other night that, somebody was getting on FDR's case. And you know what his middle name was?
Who?
FDR.
Delano.
You know what Delano is? That was a name given to a family, and that means drug runner. And the Delano's family made their fortune running opium and getting opium into China for the British.
Well, the Kennedys made their fortune of bringing whiskey in from Ireland.
Right, they brought a lot in from Canada, too. And the point being made that you can go back to every modern day family that has very, very much riches, and you go back a couple generations, you find the illegal operation that fostered that fortune.
I'm going to get me one of them illegal operations.
Yeah. I ain't doing much on the legal one.
No, I ain't either. Well, here's the thing about it. Somebody needs to stop and think that the reason, now, first off, I don't fault the people for running opium. If they hadn't had a customer for it, they wouldn't have brought it in. I don't fault the people for selling whiskey. If they hadn't had one buy it, they wouldn't have brought it in. But now they go around the laws and make their fortune, but them same people that thinks the government's the answer to all problems, and they make it so hard for a guy to be honest in business. It ain't, the thing about it is, you can't hardly start a business honestly and stay honest and make a living. and it don't mean you do anything immoral, or anything wrong. But if you don't cross the right T or dot the right I or something, you've done.
You've committed a crime.
Yeah, I hope we're still on there, cause
right.
Are we still on there?
I've got a real good example of that, a personal example. Back when I was a young man in the 50s, this was prior to the start of NASCAR. Okay, before NASCAR even came into existence. In the late 40s and early 50s, on U.S. Highway 220, there was a family down there that had that whole side of that road for a half a mile in either direction parked with old automobiles that they were scavenging parts for race cars. Had an old building there that had a tin roof that looked worse than that one up there that I used when the roof come off. It was dirty and nasty. It was clogged. The highways was clogged with everything. The buildings were dilapidated and falling down. I mean, it was not a very...
He wasn't named Petty, was he?
Good-looking place to go. It was. It was Lee Petty, and of course Richard was just a small kid that time, but it was his daddy, Lee Petty, okay, which Richard came right on in there and fell right on in there and was there at that operation too when he started driving on the racetrack. Now, at that time, they were not necessarily in compliance with anything, okay, because there wasn't a whole lot of regulations regulating that sort of thing. But fast forward 40-some years, who do you think was going around beating the drums and the bandwagon in favor of building codes and zoning?
Would that have been Mr. Petty?
That would have been Richard Petty. And we were at a meeting at Tabernacle School in Randolph County, and Richard was up there campaigning for a county commission and touting the virtues of building codes and zoning. And I stood up and I said, Richard, you know, you would never have won a race if there had been building codes back when you were a young man. Oh, yes, I would. I said, no, you wouldn't. Well, he cut me off real quick because his daddy would never have had that operation. Of course, his daddy was also, I guess, said to be in the bootlegging business, that's where he really got started off with the fast automobile. And he and it wasn't Buddy Baker, it was another baker that was out of Virginia. They run a lot of Shine and they run a lot of Applejack out of Virginia into North Carolina.
What's Applejack?
Applejack is, I believe, now I don't know, I've tasted, but I believe it is apples that have been distilled rather than fermented.
Apple brandy?
Yeah, well, it's almost like apple brandy. It's not quite as strong as apple brandy. But you take here, most of the fortunes that we have here have been made because their relatives owned all the land that was in the way of the road.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay? You take no disrespect to Hack heirs. I like Hack. But you know, they shot his daddy for bootlegging. Shot him right down there about where his office is now. But his daddy owned a lot of land on both sides of this road. And that's where the fortune came from. The other people made their fortune raping the mountains of its timber and digging its coal out without, to me, wasn't nothing wrong with it, you know. But even though there is a sensible way, did we lose it? We ain't lost it ever. No.
No, we're here.
So there is a
See how good looking we are?
sensible way to harvest your natural resources, and but you look, there's very few people just come right in here and from scratch started a business and made a fortune. Can you name any?
No, you.
Not Mary made a fortune.
You come in here riding a dually truck, and now you own Hyphalephylic.
I wish. I wish. Up down, baby.
Maybe I should have said you owe Hyphalephylic.
Don't think I want to.
No, yeah, I can think of a few people that's made it, but I think of a whole lot more. Well, no, wait a minute. Let me change that. I don't know anybody who has made a business and stuck strictly by the law and ever succeeded, because the law changes so fast that you can't keep up with it.
Well, that's true, but you know, some of the ones that you're possibly thinking about, if you really look back a little bit further, there was property involved that they used for their springboard.
Well, I've been here longer than you have, and I can think of a few people that come up the hard way and done it the hard way.
Right.
There's a couple of them sells concrete.
Yeah, well, I know that, but wasn't there, my parents had some property along in there?
No, they had a little old podunk place down there. It wasn't worth much. They dug it out just like the rest of us. Same thing here. My daddy come down here. He sold the farm for $6,000 and come down here and bought a piece of property. First thing happened after he got down here, he built him a filling station. The damn thing burnt down, and he didn't have enough insurance to cover it. And he went in debt and built it back, and didn't have enough sense to know he was going broke. He just kept going. And I've been the same way. I don't know, when I'm losing money, I just lose it. I'm used to it. I ain't used to having nothing. I just go on. But now, I don't consider myself to have a fortune, and I don't think the concrete guys have got a fortune either, but they've made a living.
Like some of them that are very, 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 very.
What I mean, they've made a living, they've made a comfortable living, and they earned every penny of it.
Right.
But if you got right down to it, I violated so many laws you couldn't count them, and they have too, and they ain't nobody driving up and down the road. They ain't a violating law of some kind.
Right, exactly right.
Because them sons of bitches in Washington and Nashville and Jacksboro will outlaw it if you can make a living at it.
Right, they'll do that. They'll make it to where only non-profit organizations can operate. You take right now, if you wanted to bring a county fair into this county, an individual could not do it. They'd have to get some non-profit to sponsor it.
Well, you have to operate under the radar anymore. You're just to tell you the truth, if you're trying to start out small and grow, you're foolish to try to obey the law. What you need to do is avoid the law. I'm too old to start that fight again, but I just tell you, you're crazy if you think you can do it. John Stossel had a show where he tried to start a lemonade stand in New York City. It took him so long to get the license, everybody's wanting lemonade, done died of thirst. It took 6 or 8 months to open up a lemonade stand. You imagine that?
Did you know they built the Empire State Building, I believe, in 18 months?
Yeah.
It'd take 4 years to get the permits now.
I know it. I know it. They ain't no sense to what's going on. But now, I tell you what, this country is going down, and they don't know how bad they're going down until it happens. Right here's what's going on. We don't want to dig any dirt up because you get your hands dirty. We stir up dust. We're going to quit raising taters, and we're going to starve to death because we can't do that without stirring up a little dirt. Right now, they put the coal industry out of business up in Virginia and Kentucky and been out here for a while.
Yeah.
They done all that because we didn't want to do no global warming. China and Germany are building coal plants all the time.
So is India.
Yeah, And what difference does it make what size? I mean, first off, this here global warming thing is horse hockey anyway, except it's a plan to control the people. But the rest of the story is, what difference does it make if you putting a CO2 in on China's side or on our side? If it's really going to make a difference, why don't we benefit from the same thing they are? And they're going, when you get right down to it, global warming is not going to kill as many people as starvation and living in mud shacks and burning buffalo dung. More people die from lung problems because they can't heat their homes and cook their food. If they don't cook their food, they die from food poisoning, and if they do cook it, they have to inhale all that there dung smoke, and they die from old CPD.
Or else they get bit by the mosquitoes there and die of malaria, which we had the perfect example, had malaria under control.
Yep.
And
people think malaria is a problem in Africa. Malaria was a problem right here.
Especially in Florida, too.
Well, I mean, right through, malaria went all the way as far north as Michigan when the settlers come over here. Of course, that's one reason the North settled earlier, is they wasn't nobody could live down here in the South. They got that there miasma.
Yeah.
Miasma is where they got mosquito bit, got yellow fever, and got typhoid, and got everything else. But you know, that's the way it is. We're gonna make sure we do everything because it looks good. Got nothing to do with how good it really is.
Well, I don't know how. Well, yes, I do. We've been working on brainwashing people for the past 100 years. The public school system's been the main promulgator of that.
Yes, sir.
And I don't know, you know, when current generation and everything dies out, ain't nobody gonna know the damn difference. That there was a difference.
If you can go through 2 generations, you can make change permanent. And just like you said, my daddy and your daddy remember growing up when you go out there and make a living and the community respected you and they didn't interfere with your business.
Right.
Come along, you're a little older than me, you come along and you saw it, and then I saw it change to now it's just accepted that they can tell you what color to paint your house after they tell you where to build it and how big to build it and how much to pay for it.
Right. Exactly right. And you know, housing especially, you know, that was never really a problem for the settlers in this country. Because they'd come in and in just a few weeks they would have them a shelter, a house erected. Mm-hmm. And they would go on to bigger and better things. Now, we purchase a house, we finance it for 30 years. You wind up paying 3 times as much for it with your interest charges and everything as you did before it was, you know, before they were added on. And so, you know,
Let me tell you what progress is. Progress is the caveman went and found him a rock and got under it, and he had a home. Wow. All he had to do then was find something to eat. Then come the settlers here, and they went out, and when the weather broke in the springtime, they went out and cut logs, and all of them got together and built a house. And like you said, within 2 weeks, they had a home, and all they had to do then was keep them starving to death.
Yeah.
Now, people work their whole lives, and their proudest accomplishment is they got their house paid for. And they call that progress. The only thing they've done is extended something from immediate to 30 years.
Yeah, I agree with that.
We're gonna have a dog fight over there. Clarabelle and Emily's over there starting a dog fight.
Oh my goodness. You babies don't do no fighting now, okay? Oh Lord.
Ladies, that other ain't a lady.
How about that? This is Delilah in my lap, baby. Yeah, she likes to be a TV star also.
What's that other's name?
That other one is Blossom.
Blossom? Blossom's a boy.
Now Blossom's a girl.
I guess she is. She is. I thought one of them was a boy.
Yeah. Come on.
You better watch. Papa's got his knife out.
Yeah, we might might cause you to lose your standing in the community. Go around Ronnie's lap.
Sit down there, Delilah.
There you go.
No, not Delilah.
There
Blossom.
you go.
Sit down, Blossom. We've gone to the door. We finally arrived.
Yeah, we finally have arrived, folks.
We
This
ended up
whole show has gone to the dog.
We've ended up at the bottom.
Right.
If you get the feeling down like maybe you ain't gonna make it much further, maybe you ought to call Vital Care and get you a ride to the hospital.
I guarantee you, air conditioned, comfortable, handle you with tender loving care, get you right there, back you right up to the door and put you right in there, 'cause I've been there, done that.
562-9370.
That's Vital Care Medical Transport. Been around in the ambulance business for about 40 years. It's a privately owned operation. It does not cost the taxpayers anything. So give them a call.
I've scared your dog.
562-9370.
Or call 911 and request Vital Care.
Right.
You don't like guys with sunglasses, do you, Blossom?
Talk to Ronnie.
She wouldn't even look at me after I put my sunglasses on. Hey, dog. Remember me? Huh? You don't know what's going on, do you? Which one did you leave that time? This one?
That's the one that comes 11 or 12 miles home by herself.
That's the only way you get there, wasn't it?
Yeah, her little paws were just about raw as she was pitter-patting up that hill.
Did you have a long walk? It's a lot of tracks for a dog ain't got no more stride than that.
She's going up to the farm where she was raised, just a pitter-patting up that hill. And she heard my truck. She recognized the sound of my truck or the smell of something. And
may have been a smell of you.
she was. No, you didn't smell Grandpa, did you? Well, you know, these little babies here, if you look at their lives, it's so basic to what it's always been, you know. Dogs somewhat are bred and to show allegiance to who's feeding them, okay? People in this country,
Same way.
they're not bred to feel allegiance to the one.
Yeah, they are too.
No,
yeah,
all of us that's working is feeding that bunch that ain't working.
That's the ones they're showing allegiance. They vote right.
Oh yeah, they vote to the ones that'll keep feeding them.
That's right.
Even though they have to take it away from me.
Well, you know, you got more. You one of them there
Right.
filthy 1% rich people.
I'm the 1% of poor people. Oh, well, when we have less than half of the able-bodied people in this country at work, we got problems.
Well, you get used to it. I don't know. I honestly don't see any way for this thing to turn around. I don't see no way for it to change because it's too far gone. You can't change it.
Well, not unless you have a complete interruption of the governmental process.
Well, here's the problem. If we have a total collapse, sooner or later we'll have anarchy. And I'm afraid somebody else will rush in to take control. And I stress the rush part too.
Yeah. Well, you're probably right, you know, and that might be better than what emerges is from the rubble here.
I agree. But if we would be lucky enough to split up, maybe the old wise ideas of the founders would grow outward from wherever they found a nest, and it might work. But I honestly, I think we're in a mess. Now, I'll tell you one thing, though. We're not going to have the minorities 50 years from now that we've got now. Because we've got so much interracial marriage that they're going to have to find a new ploy in about 20, 25 years. Cause
they can find somebody else to keep poor.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Sure are. They're aborting the black babies, and
in New York City last year there was 24,000 black babies born, and there was 25,000 black babies aborted.
And how many interracial babies?
I think if they're interracial, they're considered black.
Of course they are, if they can keep them in the fold.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about far as when you check off.
I know, but I'm saying that there, who sets that check off? Them same people that wants to keep them in the fold so they can count on their votes.
Yeah. They want to make everybody feel like they're a victim, you know.
Yes, sir.
And I agree very much with what I heard the other day, that somebody was pushing for reparation payments to the black people.
I know what I think on that. I'm for it.
Okay, because they need reparation payments to the Indian people.
I want them to pay rent what time they've been here.
Right. But this fella, he said it very plainly and making him apologies. He said the descendants of the slaves here are the recipients of, what was it? In other words, they got the good part of the deal, okay? That the ones who did not get captured and are relatives to those in Africa who did not get captured as slaves, that they've got it worse than the relatives of those who did get caught for slavery.
Yeah, if they were able to survive, their descendants, well, their descendants are better off than they would have been had they stayed where they originated.
Yeah.
And so are the white people. We're better off than we would be if we'd stayed in
England.
And Saxony and the places where we come from.
So,
but we ruined the place. We fouled the nest so bad, I don't see no way to save it.
We haven't made a mess of it. You know, I was born before Social Security was ever passed. And it was not, my mother in when I was born, was 43 years old. She was 75 years old, so before they finally found out a way to get her on Social Security.
How come?
Well, see, my dad was Southern Railway.
Yeah.
My mother did not work.
So
finally, they started giving her all the income.
Now wait a minute, she didn't work. She didn't work off.
She didn't draw a check.
Okay.
She worked hard. She had 8 children.
Yep.
All right. They dedicated all the income off the farm to her, and they draw Social Security off of that. So that's where she finally got Social Security. Which, I feel just like my daddy, you know, if they'd leave me alone, I'd give them all my Social Security money back.
Well, I've said that myself several times. I'd be tickled to death. Just, I'll pay you taxes. Just leave me alone. Let me make a living.
Well, it's very, very difficult to do that, and I'm down lately.
I hear people talk all the time about Social Security or disability or unemployment, and they say, well, I paid it in, it's mine.
Right.
Well, I paid it in for years and years, and I've been drawing Social Security for a little over 2 years, just a little bit over 2 years, and I figure I've got back that much.
Probably got back as much as you paid in. I know I have.
Now, I want to say there's one thing. If you consider it an insurance policy, if you consider it an insurance policy and you legitimately get disabled and it pays you then you come out ahead of the game. And essentially, if you bought into it as an insurance policy, then that's the way it goes. But the problem is, the most of the what's paid out wasn't paid in by the people that paid it into it.
It's being paid out by the people now.
Yeah, you don't finance yourself. And as far as unemployment goes, there's absolutely, in the state of Tennessee anyway, there's not one penny of a payday cut out of a feller's check to pay toward unemployment. Now, it might be you can argue that he'd have got a raise had they not had to pay that too, but I don't think so.
I don't either, really.
I never did consider how much unemployment was going up.
Right.
If I had a guy working for me and I needed to encourage him a little more or give him a little more money, I never thought. Now, I did before I hired him, but I didn't think at the time, what's my unemployment taxes going to be if I give him a $10 raise?
Right.
And so I'm just saying that they don't contribute anything except show up and get the check.
Right. Now, this is an entitlement society.
Yes, sir.
They think they're entitled, they're supposed to get everything. But I will say this. If what was taken out of my income for Social Security from the time I started working I started working in the newspaper office on Saturday nights when I was 16. I believe you had to make $200 before we took any Social Security out.
What did you do in that insurance office?
I was inserting advertisement and the funnies into the paper.
I just wondered if they had any sort of race riots going on because of it.
So that's what I was doing. But I've heard it said that if they had taken the money that I paid into Social Security and had put it into private investment, that I would have twice as much income at age 65 than I would have if you put it in Social Security.
Well, here's the argument against that and my counter argument for it. The argument against it is, yeah, but what if you put it in the stock market before 29 and it crashed? What would you do then? Okay, I understand that. They could invest money badly and you could lose money on it and it'd be hard to finance it. In which case, the people would have to take up the slack just exactly the way they're doing now. So their argument against it is also their best argument for investing it in the stock market or something like that.
Right, well, that's true. Of course, Social Security didn't come along until after the stock market crash, and I think we have developed ways that we could probably protect investments a little bit better, but yet at the same time, ever since Barack Obama has been in office and this Geithner, or whatever his name was Secretary of the Treasury, the Federal Reserve has been buying $80 billion worth of...
Is Geithner still there?
No, he's out.
Okay.
$80 billion and just to put it into the stock market every month.
Yeah.
Now, all that money that's put into the stock market, if there's any profit made off of it, is made by this upper income class people. Okay? Now, and he wonders why the gap between the rich and the poor has got wider. He has contributed that by putting $80 billion a month in the stock market.
He don't wonder, he knows. His goal is to reorganize the economy in a socialist direction. Now, the man is not stupid. He's sinister, but he ain't stupid. He understands why, but he pretends like he don't know why.
Right. Well, he's not part of it.
Did you hear about Jeremiah Wright's daughter getting found guilty of embezzling money?
Heavens no.
Yeah. Yeah, they found her guilty. Her and a couple of her cohorts supposedly were taking money that had been contributed. I don't remember. Anyway, it was they got them for
Who was they embezzling from?
Now we find it here. I don't remember the
Okay.
details. Let's see. I can't spell Jeremiah.
Wonder if he plugged that into his black liberation philosophy.
Of course.
Theology, excuse me, black liberation theology.
Okay. This is an indictment. She was also found guilty. Let's see. At least that was the news I got today. The daughter of Reverend Jeremiah Wright has been indicted for involvement in a plot to misuse more than $1 million in state grants. Now, she was found guilty today, I think. Let's see here. Let's see if that's correct. Well.
That.
That's a bunch of scoundrels. All them people up there are just crooks.
Yeah, they convicted her too, didn't they?
Yeah, the daughter of President Barack Obama's former pastor was convicted on Friday of laundering thousands of dollars from a state grant for a Chicago area job training program, federal prosecutors said. A federal grand jury took less than 2 hours to find Jerry Wright, 48, the daughter of Jeremiah Wright, guilty on all counts for her part in a fraud scheme led by a former suburban police chief and the chief's husband, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Central District of Illinois in Springfield. The $1.25 million state grant was for a not-for-profit work and education program called We Are Our Brother's Keeper, and some of us gets kept a little better than others,
Right, yeah.
owned by Regina Evans, former police chief of Country Club Hills, and her husband, Ronald Evans, Jr. Wright, a close friend of the couple, took as much as $11,000 from checks worth more than $30,000 that were supposed to be for work related to the grant. Prosecutors said about $20,000 was deposited back into accounts controlled by Regina and Ronald Evans. The couple has pleaded guilty to the fraud scheme. The grant agreement was supposed to provide bricklaying and electrical pre-apprenticeship training and GED preparation at the Regal Theater, another entity owned by the couple. Little, if any, of the training provided in the grant agreement was ever completed, according to prosecutors. And now you know. Hard to believe that.
Now you know the rest of the story.
Hard to believe that little girl could go wrong after an upbringing like she had. Her daddy a preacher.
I wonder if he considers that the chickens coming home to roost.
I'd say that is it. They've come home to roost.
Yeah.
Here's a dad arrested in New Hampshire for speaking out at a school board meeting because his daughter had was assigned a book that contained a page detailing a graphic sexual encounter.
You know, in Russia before the Soviet Union and communism went down the drain.
Yes, sir.
You know teachers made more than doctors.
Mm-hmm. I think we ought to send a bunch over there and let them retrain.
Yeah. And teachers made more than doctors. And the reason for that, quite simple, is that doctors considered a vital occupation, they will not let them organize, you know.
Yeah.
The teachers are so well unionized and everything. That's what's going to happen here in this country.
Yeah, I know it. I know all about that. We done had it. It's over with.
Well, I guess one of the great things about being my age that I won't have to put up with it too long. Is that where they're booking that guy on the book? Huh?
Yeah, what?
Is that where they're
Yeah.
booking that guy that protested the books, you know?
They arrested him because he violated the 2-minute rule of talking.
Oh, really?
I know a fella better be careful.
Wait a minute, I'll tell you, I got a way around that 5-minute
How's that?
rule down in Jacksboro. If you got something that's going to take 20 or 25 minutes to say, get your speech outlined and everything. Everybody, 5 different people sign up to talk, and when one gets through, the next one gets up, and he just takes it right on from there, and the next one gets up and takes it
Yep, they won't let you give your time away. They tried that.
No, you're not giving your
I know,
time away.
I know.
If I have permission to speak, and you have permission to speak, and he has permission to speak, when my 5 minutes is up, I sit down, you get up and continue with what I'm saying, okay? And then whoever else is there, they get up and continue whatever you're saying. And that way you can have a whole a program full of speech related to one thing.
Well, it ain't gonna do no good to go talk no way. They done got these things figured out before it ever happens.
Right. What did they say the guy really did that protested that book?
He just talked too long. They arrested him. Got him out of there.
Well, that's not a violation of a law to talk too long in a school board meeting that just has a regulation to that effect. That's not violation.
Well, they got him for disorderly conduct.
Okay, all right. All right.
And I tell you, it's a lost cause now anyway. It really is. The only thing I can think of that's not a lost cause is Digger's propane, and it's good even in hot weather.
You said that right, and Digger was down there this morning.
Did you know you can run a refrigerator on Digger's propane?
You absolutely can. If that seems strange to you, look at all these motorhomes and RVs. They have propane refrigerators.
I know.
And
you could even build a propane air conditioner if you were so minded.
Right. The only problem you got, propane will not move air. It will only make it cold.
Well, you know, you're going to have something to blow it, but
Yeah.
you can have a treadmill.
Oh yeah, you could sit there and work up a sweat on a bicycle so you could blow cold air on yourself and cool yourself down.
Well, yeah, just kind of a perpetual motion
Yeah, I
machine.
said that right.
As far as that goes, you could let your wife pedal and you could do the
Said that
tubing.
right, yeah. Let her put her outside.
Pedal a little faster, Lucy, as it get warm in here.
Hey, I'm breaking a sweat, honey. Would you pedal a little faster?
It says right there 65% of the 81% of American households that own a grill and is powered by propane.
Really?
Saw it right there on the television.
61% is?
65% of the 81% of the homes have got a propane grill, and you can get your propane gas down at Digger's right in the middle of the road, the Sawmill
Right,
Holler at
you get-
562
5444.
44.
Right.
5444.
Right, yeah.
562 5444.
Right. Good stuff.
If you got anything else you'd like to tell them,
I
Bob,
don't have nobody else I want to insult.
you got anything you want to sell? I've still got a dog I need to get rid of.
Let me mention, I've got a real good 35 horsepower boat motor with controls.
How's the handle on it?
Huh?
How's the handle on it?
You know, it don't have a handle.
It used to.
Huh?
It used to.
That one did, yeah.
Okay.
But it's got controls now
Okay.
with it. And of course you put a handle back on it if you want to.
Okay.
And operate off the handle either one. I also got an 85 horsepower.
That'd jerk a crick in your neck.
What?
That'd jerk a crick in your neck.
Yeah, it would. 85 horsepower. It's up at Kramer's. He's supposed to bring it down here.
I know where there's 150 you might want to sell.
Yeah, we got plenty of horsepowers on them boat motors, haven't we?
You just get your boat out of the yard.
Maybe we could drag Norris Lake over this way a little closer if we get one or two more engines.
I don't know. Get surrounded. We're already surrounded by engines. I've got a red tick hound that I'd like to find a home for.
Okay, I'm gonna take a look at that hound. I really don't need him, but I'm gonna.
Well, I'm gonna try this week to find his owner, and if I don't, I'm gonna try to find him a home.
Right. I like an old red tick. I like blue tick.
Well, I tell you, he's not good and grown. He moved in there and started carrying my stuff and piling it up, and made him a little home down there. And I wouldn't feed him, thinking he might leave. So I had some taters on the back porch, and he took them down through there and went through them and ate all the rottenings and chewed on the others and left them. And finally, I got to feeling sorry for him, so I put him up in the dog lot and went to feeding him. And then he started talking. He didn't say that for 2 or 3 days, but now you drive in, he goes, what
do you think about that, huh?
He's got old yellers, signature bark, and he ain't him yeller.
These two here went to the goat lot today. The big goats pay them no attention, but the little goat was chasing them.
The little minion?
Yeah.
How big is it now? About that old?
He's probably that high. He's a little bitty thing.
The best thing I've done in the goat business lately was loan mine out.
He's still loaned out.
Yeah, I ain't looking for him back till
Huh?
I ain't looking for him back till Thanksgiving, and I'm gonna put him on a platter. That's it for us, folks. We're glad you was able to catch us before we signed off.
Right, we'll see you Saturday afternoon.
On the WLAF and the UGG TV at 4 o'clock.
4 p.m. Saturday, folks.
Let me get us signed off here.
That'll be the 10th.
Happy trails, everybody.